Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ministry Mondays with Meg. I'm Meg. I'm Reverend Meg Biddle. I'm the National Coordinator of Ministry Life at ABHMS, and welcome to the show. Whether you're listening or watching, we are so glad that you are here. Today, I have a really special guest. I mean, all my guests are special, I'll say that, but this one, I'd say he needs no introductions, but I'm sure not everybody knows Dr. Park. But I just finished with 2 of his classes at Central. And so on purpose, I waited until we were done with our class because I didn't want anybody to think playing favorites, even though I know I am. And today, my guest is Reverend Dr. John Park. Dr. Park, I'm so glad I finally have you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here and being a part of the Ministry Mondays with Meg community. You already got the t-shirt, so you're ahead of the game. So for those who don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about you, what you do, and we'll kind of go from there.
Hello, everyone. I am John Park. I'm originally from South Korea, as you can see. I've been living here in the United States for the last 27 plus years. And I've been working at Central as Doctor of Ministry Program Director. I am an Associate Professor of Leadership and Congregational Health, and I also hold the Pair Chair of Congregational Health. And also on Sundays, I am a preaching pastor in my church here in Overland Park. And I've been married to Sumi Park, my wife, for the last 26 plus years. As a matter of fact, my 27th wedding anniversary is coming up in less than 10 days. And yeah, and I have one son who is working full time.
And how long have you been at Central now? 6, 7 years?
Yes, this is my 7th year.
7th year. And I think you get busier, right? Each year, it seems like.
Yes, the program that I've been running is growing, and people are showing interest and making inquiries.
Yeah. And you teach here, but I don't know if everybody knows that you also teach abroad as well, right?
Yes, we have extension sites, one in Yangon, Myanmar, and the other one in Seoul, Korea, South Korea. So I get to travel to Korea twice a year in order to teach my class and also interact with students and faculty members there as well. The sad thing is that I won't be able to, go to Myanmar at least for a while because of the coup and the situation there. As a matter of fact, I haven't been able to go to Myanmar since 2000. And the good thing, although, is that we've been able to host students from Myanmar, and we are expecting another cohort coming to Central in March next year.
Oh, wow. That's great that there's another cohort coming. And I think the cohort behind mine is a large group as well. So, I mean.
Yeah, we have different cohorts. So I think the one you're referring to is a creative leadership cohort. And the one that I was referring to is MIT, Myanmar Institute of Theology cohort.
Okay.
So, and then, there are 2 Korean programs and 1 online program. So there are 5 different tracks.
So you're really like, you have to be kind of like the guy at the flight deck, like where you're coming, going, what you're doing. Oh my goodness. Try and keep a track of where you are with everything and oh yeah. I would need a giant board and pictures. I don't know. Or maybe like when I was a pastor, I had note cards for everybody, kind of thing. That's a lot of students.
Been blessed by God to have students from, not only from the United States, but also from Korea and also Myanmar, and missionaries from different countries as well. So
Yeah.
I always have to remember what time, the zones that I'm in, especially when I work with students from Myanmar or Korea. Korea is always 14 hours ahead of us, Myanmar 11 and a half hours ahead of us, and then Pakistan and, Nepal. There are other countries that I also have to, be aware of the time differences that we have.
But what a great problem to have. I mean,
Yes,
that's
it is. It is.
that's a great problem to have. So what what brought you to the United States? Was it teaching? Was it school, education? I mean, you've been here
Yeah.
United States.
Initially I came to the United States to study. So back in 1999, I came to the United States to pursue PhD studies. First as not Central, but Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas, where I was a PhD student with my wife. I was studying missiology and my wife was studying church history. And I wasn't able to complete the whole thing. I was ABD, all but dissertation. And while I was working on my dissertation, I felt called to go into full-time ministry instead of part-time. So I folded my studies and went out to Northern California, Sunnyvale to be exact, where I served an English-speaking congregation for about 4 years.
Okay. That is ministry, I know for a lot of us, like it seems to be like a generational thing. Were there ministers already in your family before you?
Um, no, but
No.
but
Okay.
my father and my mother, they were like deacons in the church.
Okay.
But so I'm the second generation Christian. But on my wife's side, she has pastors. Her siblings are pastors and cousins are pastors. So there are many ministry leaders.
I don't think I knew that about your wife's family, that she had siblings that were pastors and family members that were I don't
Yeah, she's the
oh,
fourth generation Christian. Uh, Her grandmother and great grandmother and her father and mother and her siblings are all in ministry. And her grandmother came down from North Korea along with her father. So they used to live in Pyongyang, which is the capital city of North Korea.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard the story in class, but it's always good to hear it again, and
Hmm.
you put more of the pieces together and go, "Oh, I missed that
Yes.
detail," or, "Oh, I didn't know that about his wife." It's good to know people's story.
Sure.
Um, so when you got here, you you were you went to Dallas.
Hmm.
Um, what is that like I mean, the only international travel I've ever done is a trip to Israel, and I know
Hmm.
what that felt like, but still people, spoke my own language there. I mean, so what is it like when you come? Is there did you feel very much the stranger? Did you find welcoming? Did you find community?
Yes. So I had studied English when I was in Korea, and also as a Korean male who was obligated to go into the army, as a matter of fact, I took a test to go into a program called KATUSA, Korean Augmentation to the United States Army. So I
Oh,
was at KATUSA working closely with U.S. soldiers. So that was my first, I guess, taste of the American culture and what it's like to, work with Americans first. And so when I first came to the United States back on January the 9th, 1999, I had some expectation, I guess, of the people that I'll be meeting with. And so when I went to the seminary, I kind of expected the students there to extend hospitality and to be kind and to take the initiatives to maybe form a relationship with international students. But then I was wrong. Everybody was busy with their work schedule, classes and whatnot. And so instead of waiting to have that kind of hospitality or to, experience their kindness, I decided to reach out to them first instead of like waiting to be greeted. I greeted them first, and I took initiatives in, forming relationships with them. And I try to extend hospitality to them as well. I met many good people along the way, and also I developed a special relationship with some of the faculty members as well as staff, and also met many international students and North American students who were also very, kind as well. And also the churches that I worked at, different churches that I worked at, some of the churches in the Dallas area, as well as Sunnyvale, and then back in Texas, as well as here in Kansas. The faith communities were always the ones that welcomed me and accepted me as I am. And I still have, maintained good relationships with those churches and church leaders and church members as well.
Yeah. So that must really, given your history, that must really play into how you teach, how you serve, how you not that American students are any less welcome, but as someone who's seen it from the sidelines, how welcoming you are, especially of our colleagues that are not from here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would have done differently, or you look back at it and you're like, yeah, I think I made that. I'm happy with the way things kind of went.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you went from Dallas, right? And
Right.
then what? Then was it from Dallas to here?
Dallas to Sunnyvale, the San Jose area,
Okay.
and
then
back to Dallas, where I
back to
did my
Dallas.
PhD studies, and then
Okay.
from there to Kansas.
And then there to Kansas. Okay. And you always do more than one thing.
That's
Right.
true.
Like, yeah, it is I think you have this incredible work ethic. And but here you have all of this going on with Central, and you're incredibly active in the community, like what you're bicycling and
Yeah, I love bicycling with my church members and a few, persons from other places. And so every Saturday at 7 o'clock, we get together and bike for a couple of hours, usually biking anywhere between 20 to 28 miles. And we also, take a break for coffee and fellowship. Yeah.
what do you do on those bicycle rides?
What do we do?
Yeah, I get, yeah, you're riding, but I mean, is that like a time of devotion, prayer, or is that just a
Oh
fun?
yeah, I sometimes bike by myself, and when I bike, I definitely, especially when I bike myself, I use that time to pray and also meditate and enjoy the things
Mhm.
around me, and I also enjoy the fact that I can travel a long distance on my own using my own legs. And I think that's when, because I grew up in a mountain area, so I feel closer to, the trees and the open area, as well as the people who, say hi to one another, especially bikers. They always wave at each other.
Yeah,
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 so I enjoy doing that as well.
yeah. We always called that the wave factor, like in
Uh-huh.
the because I grew up in Indiana, and
Uh-huh.
they're like, you can tell how friendly a town is by the wave factor, which is,
Right.
people that just wave at random people, whether they know them or not, when you drive past their house and they're out in the yard. So,
Uh-huh.
um, I, I love I'm just thinking 28 miles. Yeah, you got time to do a lot of thinking during that ride. So in your role as the program director at Central,
Mm-hmm.
so what is a program director? What does that entail? Is that one of those just like everything? I mean, what is it that what is your role to do there? Is it enrollment? We know you teach as well.
Mm-hmm.
What is a
Yeah,
what
so
is a
as a
role?
program director, I'm an administrator, right? I administrate
Yeah.
the whole program. As I mentioned earlier, there are different tracks, like one online and
Mm.
4 different tracks offline. And I get to travel to different countries. And and while I am in Korea, or it used to be in Myanmar, where I taught classes, but I also worked with, faculty and students and even alums. So there are times when alums get together and they invite, faculty to, spend some time with them. And also, I am involved closely with recruiting and then admission interviews, because Dr. Ministry Committee interviews all applicants. But then there are subcommittees that also interview, students as well, applicants as well. And also, I have to make sure that the program is assessed, and also I have to make sure that the students are retained well and graduate. In other words, complete their studies. And even after they, finish their studies, I try to maintain relationships with them. So one of the things that I emphasize during new student orientation is, we are in this together for a long while. I don't want you to just finish your studies and say goodbye to Central and goodbye to me. Rather, we are co-laborers, right? We are partners in ministry. And I want Central to be a place of resource, a place of renewal, a place of finding encouragement, especially, as our ministry leaders work so hard and sometimes feel lonely and sometimes so, stressed out. I remember a time when one of the students broke out in tears, especially during the pandemic, because she confided in us saying that she was so tired and she has to be the leader and pastor, engaged in so many different things. She always had to be a leader, but then she said, I am glad that I can be here. I don't have to, put on any more hats. I am glad that I can be me. And we all there praying for, her. And that is, I think, the kind of place Central can be.
Yeah, I think it certainly is, but I'm a little biased as well. So I I've I have found it life giving and life changing
Mm-hmm.
for myself, and plenty of support and through some really incredibly difficult things,
Yeah.
um, that I am just grateful beyond words for, and for this whole creative leadership program. As I was thinking about the creative leadership part of it, thinking, how long you've been here, all the different ministries you've served in. How have you seen your own leadership evolve?
Yeah, I definitely, it has grown. I guess one of the mottos for me early on was to be humble and stay humble. No matter how great accomplishments I might have, I always wanted to make sure that I am the same person. I don't let my ego, get bloated or grow, bigger than God or anything, because I am the same person. And when God blesses individuals, you are enabled to accomplish many things. And also, it's not just you who makes things happen. It's always you and other people and you working together as a team. Just like, Max DePree would say, the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality, and the last thing is to say thank you, and in between you are a servant. So I always consider myself a servant, and whenever a leadership opportunity is given, I remain thankful, and I try to accomplish the goals. But at the end of the day, you're back to being a servant, back to a child of God. And whenever there are needs, I think God can raise people. And if you are there and available, and God wants to use you, and people want to, give you leadership, then your leadership is on loan, right? You are asked to lead, but then, when everything is done and over with, you are back to where you need to be. And so I always try to make sure that my ego doesn't, grow bigger. And also, I have seen myself continuing to, read up on many books on leadership, not only the popular ones, but also academic ones as well. And also, I try to meet people who are leaders, who are, serving in various, areas. And when I converse with them, I gain insights. I also hear their stories. And, in Korea, we call this people are like, human books or people books, right? They are not just, in book format, but they are people who offer insights and information and wisdom and knowledge. So, I work with, books. The Bible is a book, and also we have to read a lot of books, right? But
Right.
people are also, kind of, people books as well.
I
If
like that.
that
No,
makes any sense at all.
no, I don't think I've ever heard of people books, but that makes sense. I mean, we are the sum of our stories when we're not here.
Right.
You know, hopefully people will tell a good story about us. You
Hmm.
know, is would be my hope. I like that though. People books. Do you have? I know you read all the time and the leadership books, but do you have a very favorite book? Not the Bible. That is not the Bible. I'm gonna say that is not the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are many books out there, but I guess one of the books that I always found myself drawn to um, is I mean, well, let me put it this way. There's a book written by J.R. Uh, Woodward. It's a book that came out recently, and it's called Leadership Scandal. And that book is a really good book, and it talks about academically as well as biblically about how leadership can be challenged, and how our modern capitalist also sometimes greedy things can play into our leadership. And also I know we rarely talk about the spiritual beings, right? The evil spirits and whatnot, but those things sometimes play into our Christian leadership. So J.R. Woodward did a great job of dealing with the importance of how we need to continue to remind ourselves that we are followers of Christ before
So
we
I
become leaders.
I think I will put that in the show notes in case others want to look for that. But that's a recommendation, and I'm gonna definitely look into that one and add that to. I mean, I already have plenty of things to read,
Sure.
but it
I guess so.
sounds
Right.
fantastic,
And
actually.
then, Max DePree is another person that I enjoy, reading. Like his leadership is a jazz, right? The quote that I, shared earlier is by Max DePree. And I also enjoy reading books by Eugene Peterson.
You can't go wrong there. I mean, not
Yeah.
with Eugene. I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with Eugene Peterson. Uh, and maybe not everybody knows you have a YouTube channel,
Yes, I
right?
do.
that we'll put a link to in the show notes. And so who is your intended audience for your YouTube channel, though?
Well, I used to have, so I have two, but then the first one, I no longer, do any updates at all, because initially I started with this YouTube channel called Daring to Speak, 22 Ideas to Improve Your Ability to Speak English, which is also the title of a book that I self-published through Amazon. So that channel reached 1,000 subscribers at some point, and I stopped that, and then I started another YouTube channel called Young Seol Ji-Gong. It's a Korean, basically English with John Park. So that's the title of my YouTube channel, and it has about 2,400 something subscribers. I have 11 members, like pay members, who get to spend some time on a regular basis. So I have a monthly Zoom meeting with my members.
Oh, well, that's cool. And
Yeah.
and that's one of the things when I went to a conference in Las Vegas that the not up and comers, but also, those who are actually making money at it, that was something that they were talking about, how the importance of having that those paid subscribers and engaging with them, and how important that was. So so there's some good advice for people who are considering starting a YouTube channel. For those who may not know you, you introduced our group to the Chat GPT,
Right.
Which I agree with how you put it to our class, that it is a great place to get started. Yeah, I mean, and then it just seems like exactly like you said, AI exploded.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously that's something that very much interests you. Yeah. How do you see that helping people in ministry?
Oh, yeah. I think we need to always keep our antennae up for what is coming and what is emerging as leaders, right? One of the things that I, get to teach in my class is being able to lead from the future. So we're not living the future right now, but there are signs, things that are emerging, and leaders, see those emerging signs, and, and see how they are evolving, how they are developing, right? And when I saw ChatGPT and other things that are also happening, like metaverse and robotics and, blockchain technologies and whatnot, so many times we focus so much on what is here, but then we are people of faith, being sure of what is to come and what is, not seen. So I think that puts us in a place where we need to really go to God and also ask Him to help us, like the Iscarians, one of the tribes of Israel, who knew the times and knew what they were supposed to do, like the Israelites had to do. And I think we should pay attention to what is happening right now, but also what are emerging, right, as the signs of the future. So some of these developments are things that we need to pay close attention to and, stay updated on.
And and I understand how the new can feel scary, but there's that anything that we don't understand is scary. I think it's irresponsible if we don't at least have some understanding of what these things are. And I don't think it's fair for us to just go, oh, that's bad, and make that a blanket statement, because I mean, like you said, it is the future, and being people of faith, I think you need to be informed as well. So if you look back at your life, what advice would you give yourself? Would you Yeah. What advice would you give yourself? Would you be like, okay, John Park, I want you to know, this. Like, is there something you would have done differently? Advice you would give to your younger self?
Sure. I grew up in a city called Busan, which
Yeah.
is down in the south in Korea, which is second largest city. And but then at the same time, I grew up in a mountain area of Busan, so it was a small town I grew up in, and because of that, I guess because of that upbringing, when I went to college, I also ended up going to a church that had whose leader had a fortress mentality, and so we were almost like indoctrinated to prioritize everything around evangelism. Evangelism is important, and we definitely live our lives as witnesses, and no doubt about that. But then, if we think differently, outside the box, or if we have different opinions or different positions, then we will look down upon. And I think that is something that did a terrible thing to me, especially the way I developed my mind. And so I would definitely, encourage me or advise me, younger me, to think outside the box and to be open to different, theological stances and thoughts, camps of thoughts and opinions. I would also encourage me to embrace diversity and inclusivity. I'll also encourage me to travel more often and meet new people. And one of the things that I think I've done a good job on is to try to learn new languages. So I will tell myself I would tell myself that, hey, you've done a good job, especially in this area, and which allowed me to travel to different countries and interact with them much easier. And also I would definitely encourage me to think about finance and help
Mm.
develop a good understanding of how finance works and how to save and how to invest and how to give, especially because Koreans are still not good at like donating to good causes and organizations and whatnot. I worked, as a fundraiser for 18 and a half months for Central. And during that time, I realized how important it is to learn to be able to give early on, believing in causes and, especially seminaries and places that are so important for our societies.
Those are those are great answers. Those are I really, really, especially I appreciate the um talking about the church that you grew up, because I think so many of us have similar kind of experiences,
Mhm.
um and then when by the grace of God our eyes are opened, it really is life changing and life giving.
Mhm.
Um and I am, I think, like you and so many others, grateful for those opportunities that God has given us. Um, so, for everyone watching or listening, we'll make sure that we put uh, books and links and things like that in the show notes. But I have to ask you my joy question.
Okay.
It is my favorite question. So think about all those things that you do in your life and what brings you joy.
What brings me joy?
Mm,
First and foremost, I find great joy in knowing the fact that I'm a child of God
mm,
and that I'm loved by my family and my loved ones and my communities. I'm also, you know, um, a valued member of my communities, of which I am a member. Also, seeing people grow and people change for the better always brings me joy, especially as I work with students. I shared earlier how people find joy and encouragement in being with faculty and other students where they feel safe. And I also find great joy in when I see students find solutions to their, long-held problems or long-held issues. When I see them having aha moments, that definitely brings me joy. And also, I find the great joy in growing things like, my YouTube channel, for example. When I see the number of subscribers go up, it makes me joyful. And also when I see churches grow, not just numerically, but also in maturity and in their outreach to community and in their service to not only to the immediate, community, but also greater community as well. I also find joy in me continuing to grow. I consider myself a learner, a lifelong learner. So I always find joy in learning new things, new languages, having new experiences. But as I age, as I grow older, as I'm in my early 50s, I also find joy in now going a little slow and reflecting on how I've been doing things, my relationships, and in the way that I do things.
And this is what I love is that 51 episodes now, and no two answers are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Even if people answer it with the same general kind of thing, they are everyone's joy is individual, which kingdom is what that all
Yes.
it reminds me of. I am grateful for you for your ministry at Central and for all that you do for being an encourager and just being willing to do the things that God asks of you and the lives that have changed as a result along the way. So I really am. I am grateful for you and for Central's program. And I'll just put another little plug out for Central if you're thinking about the
Yes.
DMN program.
Uh-huh.
Get a hold of me and I'll introduce you to Dr. Park, or we'll get you Dr.
Yes.
Park's contact information. We'd love to share it with you. And I'm not just saying that to be flip or anything. Dr. Park knows, I think,
Yes. Yes.
how
And Meg,
important.
we Central is also blessed and fortunate to have you as one of our students in the DMIN program, and we always support you and the work you do, and the HMS and the great things that you guys do. We also root for you, and root for the ministries that you are involved in as well.
Yeah, and I'll say that's very, very true. Is of all of the professors, everyone in Central, everyone is just great about being a cheerleader for all of us in the many things that we do and the many ways that we serve, and so I am grateful. I thank you for the gift of you, and I thank you for your time and for sharing. And we'll make sure we share all this information with our viewers. So thank you, Dr. Park, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Yes.
And we thank you, our listeners and our viewers for being a part of this journey. And we will see you next.